Hello, everybody. What's going on? This is Nate the Lawyer. Welcome back to the channel. It has been a while, people. It has been a while. And yes, I am back. I am still in the land of the living. There's been like so much that has happened in the past week. It is like insane. So, well, actually, in the past 2 weeks, it's been like insane. I had a video that's got like 2 million views. I was in the New York Times. I'm just like, everything's like blowing up like a bomb. You know, I got clients calling me all crazy. It's insane. So welcome to the Lawyer Spot. This is our weekly show with me and my friend Alita from Legal Bytes. We go over hot topics in the law and, you know, go over audience questions. So we used to do this in the evening. Now we're going to be moving this to the daytime because the schedule works better for us. But it's great to see everyone here. Let me bring in my partner, Legal Bytes. Boom.
Hello.
What's up?
Hello. Good to see you, and good to have another live stream. I know it's been a couple of weeks, but yeah, happy to get back into it.
Oh, thank you, Devin. Devin says he loves the videos. Big Dog, I just sent you the message on Twitter, so don't say I didn't send it. I was just on Amazing Lucas, one of Amazing Lucas's live streams. So Big Dog hit me up, so I did message you back, Big Dog. Howdy, what's up, Jack Garrett? So welcome to another Lawyers live stream where we just talk about all things law. And how has the past 2 weeks been for you, Alita? What's been going on?
It's been good. I mean, you and I have been working on a collaboration project, so that's been good. And I'm working on a video for the Britney Spears conservatorship. So that should be coming out tomorrow. And yeah, it's been pretty good. I also randomly, outside of work and all that kind of stuff, I told you about this separately, but found a kitten when I was out on a run with our dog Indy. And so we've been basically rescuing her, and we're fostering her until we can find her a loving home, but just getting her healthy until we can do that. And yeah, that's been pretty much it. You
see, you're a tree hugging leftist. You're saving kids in the street and everything. You're gonna be careful, right?
I know, it's my bleeding heart. I couldn't possibly leave this kitten alone because it was such a hot day. It was morning and it was already hot out. And she was by herself, and she was like this little kitten, and it turns out she's got a broken leg and a broken pelvis and all this kind of stuff. So we're just trying to get her to gain weight so she's at a healthy weight, and then she can, you know, go back to the vet and we can mend all of her broken bones. And
oh my God.
Yeah. Well, poor thing.
Well,
but she's very cute. Do you want to see her?
Yeah. Let's see it.
She's right here. She's a cutie.
What are you calling the cat? What are you going to be calling the cat?
So we couldn't figure out what to call her. I was thinking maybe something similar to Indiana Jones, since our dog Indy was the one that found her. But my husband actually came up with a really cute name for her, Astra. Astra meaning like star, like the movie Ad Astra. He really loves space, and so we watch a lot of space movies, and so it just kind of stuck. So
hope it was like soon as you said Astra, I'm thinking like AstraZeneca, but then I'm like, okay. But it all depends on, you know, where you're at, because I'm thinking about vaccines and oh my God, AstraZeneca. But the cat is cute. How's the other cat like it? It's like they're like killing each other.
So they haven't really interacted too much. I mean, mostly because like I want to wait until Astra has gained enough weight so she's like officially at a healthy weight. You know, because she was when I first took her to the vet, she's 3 months old. She's supposed to be somewhere between 900 and 1,300 grams. And she was like 720. So like really underweight. So, here, no, hang out here. And so we're just trying to get her to gain weight. So before she really interacts too much with Indy and with Holmes, I want to have her sort of just gain as much weight as possible.
Yeah, so she can handle the rough and tumble part about it.
Yeah.
I definitely hear that. Well, it's great. You know, we got Alita saving kittens on an off time. You know, so you know, I think that's a great transition to what's been going on for the past. I think this week well, last week we had the video blow up, but this week, I was obviously, for those of you who don't know, I was in the New York Times this week, and let me see if I can put the article up. And the article was about a case that I had maybe a couple of years ago. What was it, 2018? So everybody understands a little background. I take a lot of cases pro bono. And hold on, let me close this. So let me turn this off. Sorry, I'm like hearing myself in the background. So I take a lot of cases pro bono. Not a lot. I take many cases pro bono, but not a lot. And this was one of earlier on when I used to be a professor at the law school. What was going on is that I would take, since I didn't really need to make money to live, I would take cases just from people in my community who needed help. So I was a defense attorney. So this is a case that came across my desk. It was a young man. He actually wants to come on. His name is Carlos. As he was in an article. He's going to come on. He wants to do an interview on the channel. So you'll be able, so you may see him.
Nice.
Actually, I have like 3 or 4 clients who've now reached out to me who want to actually come on to the YouTube channel and tell stories. And all these clients are pro bono clients. So that means they didn't pay me a dime. I did this for free. So he was charged with assault for assaulting a rapist. And the story, it starts pretty weird because now everything I'm going to say is public information. It's exactly what happened and how I got involved with the story. So a group of friends goes to a bar in Brooklyn. They hang out and then they come back to the City College of New York. So when they come back to the City College of New York, when they come back to the City College of New York, they go to the dorms. And when they go to the dormitory, the one of the friends says, hey, she wants to go and rest because she's drunk and she wants to go rest and sleep or whatever. So they're supposedly in the living room. So she goes into the alleged rapist's room. She falls asleep and the rapist stays inside there with her. The alleged rapist stays inside there with her. After 20 minutes, my guy hears a scream out the room, like, oh my God. So my guy gets up off the couch and walks into the room and says, like, yo, what's going on? She comes out of the bathroom and she says, he blanked me and here is, and here's his phone. He recorded it on his phone. So my guy then takes the phone and looks at the phone and he sees what he describes as, the woman she's unconscious and this guy's having sex with her, filming it. So supposedly she wakes up, and when you read the article, when she wakes up, she sees this guy filming her. She snatches the phone and runs to the bathroom, and that's how this happened. So when my guy sees the phone and sees the phone and sees the recording, he's like, yo, what are you doing? The blankist or the rapist then tries to grab the phone from my guy, and they get into an altercation. Now, my guy is an amateur MMA fighter. So obviously my guy knows how to handle himself in a fight. He does his thing, subdues the whole situation. So the cops come. Now the NYPD comes. The New York City Police Department comes to the scene and there's blood all over the place. The rapist has got some serious physical injuries. So the cops are like, what happened? They tell her what happened. And then next thing you know, the cops arrest my guy and don't arrest the rapist. So my guy gets arrested, and that's when I come into the story. Like, yo, what's going on? This. He gets arrested. So I get into the story. So I take the case for free. Just try to hammer everything out. So
keep going. I'll be right back.
Sure. So come to find out, the rapist isn't charged at that particular time. My guy's charged, and I'm defending him in court. A couple of maybe like a week later, the campus police department for the City College of New York. Now, the City College of New York is a public institution. So the security there are actually police officers. They're peace officers, and they have law enforcement powers. So they do a separate investigation outside of the NYPD into the sexual assault allegations. They then get this guy's phone and see the fact that he had sex with this woman while she was sleeping. So they arrest him separately for the sexual assault of the victim. So he's now arrested for sexual assault. My guy's arrested for supposedly assaulting the rapist after the sexual assault. After all, we go through it, and then I file a motion to the court. So, well, before that happens, the school investigators call us, right? The school investigators called us. And when the school investigators called us, they said, well, after they arrested the rapist, they had his cell phone. And on his cell phone, they saw videos of not him just doing this to one woman, but him doing this to multiple women. So there were multiple women, multiple videos on his phone of him having sex with multiple victims. And then 2 other victims came forward at the time. So we had multiple victims on the phone. We see, well, they see him having sex with multiple unconscious women on his phone. He's video recorded it. And number 2, we now have other victims coming forward at the school saying he's done this to me too. I was asleep. I was this. So they see the videos. He's confessed. And then he also confesses, right? He then confesses over the phone with the phone call saying, yes, he had sex with this woman while she's unconscious. So we think the case is solid, right? He's admitted to having sex with her on the phone over a phone call. We got the videos, and now he's admitted. And then to even make the case even stronger, he goes to the district attorney's office. Well, I'm sorry. He goes to a room full of his fraternity brothers. I think there's like 20 of them there, and he confesses again in a room full of people. Yes, I had sex with these women without, while they were unconscious. So having sex with women while they're unconscious, confessed in a room. You got the video, you got the recording. I'm thinking conviction is imminent, right? He's going to get convicted.
Pretty solid, it seems like.
What more do you need? What more do you need? So then the prosecutors dropped the rape case, which was kind of like shocking. Like, why would you drop the rape case? So they dropped the sexual assault charges. Now, when they dropped the sexual assault charges, they then continue to prosecute my guy. They're like, oh, we're going to still prosecute your guy for the assault of the rapist, right? So I'm like, the guy who's got video on, who's admitted to the sexual assaults, you are going to prosecute my guy, but not prosecute this guy. So the school started working, and the school suspended him from the school for 4 years for these rapes. They were like, you're suspended. We don't want you here. So they suspended him from the college, but the DA's office dropped the charges. So now my guy's being prosecuted. So me arguing with the prosecutor. Now this case, usually these cases are easy, but now this case is getting hard. I'm like dealing with schools, prosecutors. So I got like a lot of hours going into this case. So at this point, I am talking to the DA, and I said, well, you're going to make me do this. I'm going to have to prosecute this guy, and defending my guy. If he's going to be a witness, I'm going to have a line of victims, because now I'm contacting victims. I'm going to have a line of victims testify that your guy is not only a rapist, is that you're not prosecuting him for rapes. So I got like 4 or 5 women here who I'm going to bring up to, and they're all saying we're going to testify. I got the victim that, so they're like this. So the prosecutors get scared and offer my guy a deal. And the deal was, the full dismissal, nothing, he just goes away, but he has to do community service. My guy took it because why continue to go back? And he's like, all right, I'll do 2 days community service but he has no criminal record. It was a full dismissal. Everything was just gone. Now, this is the piece that everybody's going to want to understand. And I think everybody needs to understand it. The reason why the prosecutors said they dismissed the case. Now, in the story, there's a part of the story which is crazy. And something it's weird because I think a lot of people aren't going to it's all right. Let me just say it, because in this part of the story, most of the time, and it's shocking, every time I explain the story fully, most women agree with the prosecutor's office to drop the charges, and most men disagree. I don't know why that is, and even the prosecutor's office found this out. But most women will agree with the prosecutor's decision, and most men will agree with that he should have been prosecuted. Now, this is the full story, so you guys understand the context of this. So when the group of friends went to the club initially, the victim said that when she went to the restroom, she was raped in the restroom by this guy. So when she went to the restroom, he pushed his way in and then assaulted her in the restroom at the club. She then comes out the bathroom and is with her friend. They then jump into a cab and go back to his room. They go back to his room. They take a cab uptown, maybe 5 or 6 miles. He pays for the cab. They all jump in the cab. They go to his apartment. And then she goes to his room with him alone and then says she was assaulted again. So the prosecutor said, number one, who would
go to his
who would if he raped you at the club,
why would you go to his place afterwards?
Why would you jump into a car, go in his place, and then go into his, and then secondly go into his room alone if this assault had just happened to you before, right? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And as canvassing, it seemed like most women were saying that, hey, we just, there's something wrong here, right? What do you think, Leah? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I've been talking for a while.
Yeah, no, it's fine. And that it was actually perfect because the kitten needed to use the litter box, so that was like perfect. Good stretch of time. So well, one thing that I do know that's I think really, really interesting and something that was really surprising to me when I learned about this in law school was that apparently when it comes to these kinds of cases, women on the jury tend to be a little bit more tough on the victim than men because, and it has, apparently it has something to do with the closeness of this sort of situation to how that would affect the woman in her life. Like for a man, I mean, okay, men can be raped too, but typically it's women that are. And so a lot of these women that are sitting on a jury will think to themselves like, well, what would I have done in this situation? And because it's such a harrowing and sort of terrifying thing to live through, a lot of times it's like a subconscious thing that women will often do is to sort of distance themselves. Like, well, I wouldn't make that decision. I wouldn't be that foolish. I wouldn't wear that sort of outfit. And so they tend to sort of distance themselves from what the victim did because of like a sort of like a self-preservation kind of thing, if that makes sense. And yeah, I thought that was really, really interesting. So it doesn't surprise me at all that the canvassing showed that women were like, no, you should probably drop this. I wouldn't be in favor of this victim.
Yeah. And I think it's for all the reasons that you said. Most, hearing the story now, the full story, most women were probably thinking like, hey, because the question is who would do that, right? If he sexually assaulted you in the club, you didn't tell anybody, you didn't, you're in a whole bunch of people. Not only that, you got in a car with this guy, drove to his place, and then when you're still in a group of people, you then go into his room and isolate yourself from the group, and then this happens again. But understand this: there's a legal component to this too, because the legal component to this too is that if you're an unconscious victim, right? Generally, the law says you can't have sex with someone who's unconscious because obviously if they're unconscious they can't give consent. So if someone's unconscious, you can't just have sex with them. But his story is that it was consensual, right? His story is, hey, this was consensual, she wanted it, and that's even though he had made those admissions, he's still saying. Now that's the thing with his credibility, because at first he said that she was asleep, and you got the video, so you have all this evidence showing that she was unconscious when they were doing this. But then his part is that the reason why she went into the room is because she wanted to continue what was going on in the club, right? They had started in the club. She wanted to continue it on. That's when she jumped in and came to the room. And that's why his thing was, this was just part 2 of what we had already started. Now this victim did have a boyfriend. So this victim did have a boyfriend, and she was with her close friend. Her close friend was with her the whole journey. So her close friend was at the club. Her close friend got in a car with her, and a close friend was even at the apartment when this whole thing went down. So the story was really, really complicated. But then come to find out, this guy had done this like 4 or 5 other times. So now you had like this whole big piece of it where, okay, there's one victim, there may be issues with this, but you got 5 other stories and things
You
like that.
got an MO at that point, modus operandi.
Yeah. So
I mean, oof, yikes.
But the district attorney's office did admit that they should have taken this case to the next level. They should have prosecuted it. They should have done the right, the question would have been for a jury to decide, because a lot of prosecutors' office don't take cases unless they feel they can win them. And there was enough here where you do have reasonable doubt, but it's not about winning, it's about justice, right? Let a jury decide if you have enough to prosecute. You should prosecute. They were more concerned with winning. And so they did come out and said we should have at least prosecuted this case. But at the end of the day, and I would like to ask the audience, how do they feel about it? Do they feel, could they have got a conviction? Would you have voted, right? I know it's funny because I know sexual assault advocates, rape victim advocates who say they would have had pause to convict this rapist based on this information. And you
That's
can't
tough.
And you can't blame them because if the standard is beyond a reasonable doubt, I think this gives you enough doubt to say maybe this wasn't a sexual assault versus this was a sexual assault. So it's a fascinating case for that reason, that there is enough doubt here where I think you can say, this game he did it obviously, but it may be more to it. Go ahead, Aaliyah. I know you're trying to get in.
I think this definitely would be a very borderline case, because you do have him essentially making admissions that he did this, and he did this multiple times to multiple women. And, and you've got, there's a lot there that you can establish that he did it. Partly just his own admission, like that to me is huge. That's huge. So I personally would be able to sort of set aside her quirky behavior. I'm calling it quirky because it's weird,
It is,
but
weird, yeah.
especially because you think about how also, psychological studies apparently have been done. Jordan Peterson talks about this a lot, about how one of the differences between men and women, not in every case, but in a lot of cases, is women tend to be more agreeable than men. So she may have just, been already an agreeable person and then intoxicated on top of that, and just decided, okay, well, for tonight, I'm going around with all my friends. I'm doing what my friends are doing. And okay, well, I'm being ushered into this room. I'm going, I'm being agreeable. There could be that could have something to do with her personality, or she was just that level of intoxicated. Who knows? But so for me personally, I feel like I would still be able to side with the victim in this case, given all of the other evidence outside of that weird judgment call that she made.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. I do think, though, there are arguments on both sides, and I understand why the prosecutor would have been skeptical about prosecuting the case, but I still think at the end of the day, you prosecute and let the chips fall where they were, because that's what juries are for, right? They make the decision, not the prosecutor. So right,
because we're not talking about civil liability here. We're talking about criminal liability.
Exactly.
We're talking about somebody that was there's a really good likelihood that this person was actually harmed by the defendant. So it does seem like something that should have been put to a jury, and as you said, prosecutors are supposed to get justice, not necessarily wins.
Yes. And they would think, but again, so everybody understands the prosecutor's office did say they made a mistake in this case. They should have prosecuted this guy. So it's not, and that was a big admission. That was a big admission from the Manhattan DA. That's the guy who's prosecuting Trump organization. That's it was a huge admission. For even myself, because I was giving them a lot of shit, but for them, they did their mea culpa. Now, I do also want to say this, is that, I know it's funny because, a lot of people, I got so many messages from people saying, hey, Nate, I didn't think you were an attorney. I'm so sorry, blah, 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 blah. Now, so for all those people out there, listen, it's fine. We're on YouTube, my name, this is my alias, Nate the Lawyer, all this stuff. So it's more than fine,
Also, if you weren't actually a lawyer, you wouldn't be able to call yourself Nate the Lawyer, because there are professional responsibility. There are actual rules about that that govern the legal profession that, you know, like you would not be able to run around calling yourself a lawyer if you're not actually a lawyer. Like that's a very serious issue.
Yeah, no, it's you know, because again, it's YouTube. And you know, there were some reasons why some people didn't want me to be a lawyer. Some other reasons why people didn't. But it's more than fine. But now you know, everyone knows, and you know, for those of you who've reached out, it's more than fine. It is what it is. You know, nice. I'm just happy. You know, I'm happy to get a little ink. It was a front page story. I'm happy to get a little ink. And I'm happy that, you know, now everybody knows. You know, hey, Nate is an actual lawyer, so we don't have any more problems with that. And last but not least, last but not least, you know, it's a lot of these cases when you take one of the things I hate about pro bono cases, which you know, I just recently had another one that got a good result. But one thing I do hate about pro bono cases is that there's a lot of investment in it, because a lot of times when you're taking cases essentially for free, that's what pro bono is. A lot of the defendants and even a lot of the plaintiffs that when I take cases for free, you know, they don't have any avenues. And I will say this: results definitely depend on the quality of attorney that you have. If you have a good attorney, the results are going to, because you know, it just makes it so much better. And when you have an attorney who's invested in your case, it makes it so much better. So you know, if you can afford one, I think it's always best. But you know, it's, you know, my rate is like $325 to $350 an hour. Most normal people can't afford that, right? That's a hell of a lot to pay for an attorney. And you know, so that's why I take pro bono cases, because I think no matter who you are, I've represented white people, black people. This guy was Hispanic, women, men, all pro bono. And what I always think is having great legal representation shouldn't depend on your ability to pay. It should, you know, because justice shouldn't depend on how much money you have in the bank. Yeah. Justice should be about the facts and them being well argued. So that's my moral piece to it all now. Yeah,
some of my most fulfilling memories as a lawyer have been done on pro bono cases. For a while, I was doing a lot of pro bono work with the Veterans Legal Institute out of Southern California. They serve solely exclusively in I was going to say indigent veterans. And so I was doing a lot of like estate planning work for primarily, I mean, the age demographic tended to be Vietnam era veterans. And like they hold like a very, very special place in my heart. I mean, partly because that's my dad's generation, but you know, and he served during that time. But also because they just were so mistreated by the public. But yeah, they would just find, like, you know, they weren't allowed to pay us because of the, you know, the firm itself is like, you know, they're all pro bono. They have, in order to keep their 501c3, you know, rating or whatever, they can't take payment. And so I couldn't take payment either, but they would just try to find like these little ways to sort of show their gratitude by, like, you know, like, here, I grew all these tomatoes from my yard, and here I, you know, made this little like pen thing for, you know, as part of my physical therapy at the VA, and, you know, here you go. And it was just like, I had some really great moments doing pro bono work with those guys. Like those are some of my favorite memories as a lawyer. So definitely highly recommend doing some pro bono work.
Yes. No, I'm 100% for it. Now we got to switch to our girl, Emily D. Baker. Now, Emily D. Baker, I don't know how she gets into the crazy, but she gets full-fledged into the madness. So let me update everybody on what's going on.
Oh, boy.
So first, remember we had the Tati lawsuit versus Tati versus Without a Crystal Ball for defamation. Yes. That settled. And when that settled, Without a Crystal Ball, Katie Jo Paulson came forward and said,
allegedly said.
No, she said it straight up. I'll play that. Okay. Play the clip. Okay. She said straight up, Clark Swanson is the guy, right? As a matter of fact, I'll play the clip. I'll find the clip and play the clip. She says, Clark Swanson is the guy. He is the one that was feeding me this information. Clark Swanson. Not ambiguously, she just straight up said it. That's the guy, right? So Clark Swanson, so Tati Westbrook then used and then obviously Katie Jo Paulson flipped, and now is working with Toddy Westbrook to sue Clark Swanson. Clark Swanson is now Clark Swanson was sued in Arizona by Toddy using the fact that he was feeding information to Without a Crystal Ball. And Without a Crystal Ball is now the star witness. Clark Swanson then goes back and sues Toddy for defamation, saying that everything Without a Crystal Ball is saying is a lie. So,
but then shouldn't he be suing Without a Crystal Ball and not Toddy Westbrook?
Well, Without a Crystal Ball doesn't really have any money.
I mean, but in order for a defamation claim to be proved, you have to like the person that you're suing, the defendant, has to be the person publishing the wrongful information. So either a publisher or a republisher.
Well, I'm thinking that's where he's going with it. I'm thinking he's saying Without a Crystal Ball says it's him. Toddy then says, yeah, it's you. And then he's doing the republisher. He's saying that they're saying, because again, you want to go after the big fish. You're not making any money. Or he may join, her, but as long as they got her, Toddy saying the statement, then that's, I think that's got it. So now we got that. So then Clark Swanson, thinking he's so smart, thinking he's so intelligent, he sends Emily his defamation suit because now he's suing the Westbrooks for defamation. So he sends Emily his lawsuit, and it's like got empty blank pages. It's like all madness. So he sends her the lawsuit, but then also a cease and desist within the lawsuit, right? And the cease and desist is about making these statements that Without a Crystal Ball, Katie Jo Paulson, that he was the source. So that was a cease and desist. Now, the problem is there's problems with this cease and desist. There's a lot of problems with it. Number one, Emily Baker is reading the court documents, right?
Publicly available information.
So you don't got defamation with that. Number two, for defamation, there's a negligence component to it, right? You have to say things negligently. She's got locked dead down sources, right? Now, let me find this video. I want to find the video. Drama and Opinions. Shout out to Drama and Opinions. Yes, I do watch Drama and Opinions. She is really, really good with breaking this stuff down. If you guys haven't checked her out, you got to. Her name is Magda. I don't know. Have you ever heard of Magda for Drama and Opinions?
No, I haven't. But I mean, I probably should.
Yeah, well, she's good at breaking. She's one of those I love drama channel. And she's a good drama channel. She's a really good drama channel. I'm trying to find the video she did on it where she has it. All right, here it is. She has it. She calls it Major T. I'm gonna try. Oh, I gotta add. So essentially, I don't think Clark Swanson has a case, and the reason why I don't think Clark Swanson has a case is just because of the negligence piece of it. Clark Swanson is essentially a public figure, and Clark Swanson is also essentially you'd have to have actual malice, but then he would not be able to prove that she knew the statements were false and said them anyway, right?
Yeah, because even like he probably is not like a household name in terms of like that level of a public person. However, there's a middle level that's the limited purpose public figure, and so basically to say within a certain subject matter you are very well known. So let's say you're very well known in baseball, or you're very well known in I don't know, some other subject matter. In this particular one, with business having to do, I don't know, I think he probably is at the very least a limited purpose public figure, in which case the statements being made about him are within that realm. So they would still have to show what's called actual malice.
Yeah, that's a good point. And actual malice means you knew the statements were false and said them anyway, or you recklessly disregarded the truth, right? The truth was out there. Yes. And you just said, I don't want to hear it. I'm going to still say these false statements. So right. It's an extremely high standard to overcome, though, especially for a public figure.
It can't just be, I was sharing this information and oops, it turned out to be false. You have to show that person actually knew to a certain extent that that was false, and that they, you know, at the very, yeah, like you said, at the very least was reckless about it and didn't do any sort of background investigation or anything, and was like, nope, I'm going to run with this and just throw all haste into the wind. So, yeah.
Yeah. So here was a statement that Katie Joy made that obviously I think that this is the reason why Clark Swanson doesn't have a case against Emily. It's just, you know, and obviously there's the whole, well, to be honest with you, the cases are all, you know, the cease and desist is bullshit. But just this is like the sole reason why if you just play this, then it's like, all right, it's done. Here is Katie Joy Paulson explaining who her source was.
In particular, had repeatedly contacted me totally unsolicited and provided me over the course of several months with disparaging information about the Westbrooks and their various businesses. It's now my opinion that this person contacted me for the purpose of feeding me and manipulating me into publishing disparaging statements about the Westbrooks to cause them harm. This source then sued the Westbrooks and asked me to break the story about his lawsuit. This source is the Westbrooks business partner in Halo Beauty, Clark Swanson.
Is that, what more do you need, right? What more do you need?
From the horse's mouth, right?
And she just said, hey, she said it's Clark Swanson. So Clark Swanson, you know, saying it's maybe defamation. She's saying no. So, you know, this is where we're at with this story. So do you think Emily has anything to worry about?
No. I really don't think so. I mean, especially because all of the information that she's getting is what's already out there. She's not digging into any sort of private information. And she's, I mean, I haven't seen her recent live streams on the subject, but every time she talks about these subjects, she's always couching in, this is what we know, this is what we don't know, this is what could be, but I'm not sure. You know, like she's not just like throwing caution to the wind and just making things up as she goes along.
Yeah. Oh, somebody's talking about Natalie. Natalie Lloyd chick is amazing too. I love Natalie. I did the live stream with her and Emily the last time. Natalie Lloyd chick is the real deal though. Yeah. She's no joke. So.
Yeah, she's a defense attorney, I think, right?
Yeah. And I think where is it at?
In Maryland somewhere, like
Maryland,
right outside DC.
Maryland.
Yeah.
But she's got some real big name cases, so she's, you know, but hey, awesome. Definitely check her out. But at the end of the day, you know, we'll see where this goes. But I really don't think that Emily has anything to worry about. It's not legal advice, though. I don't know, you know. We'll have to, but
not that she needs our legal advice.
Yeah, that is, she really needs it. But I also think it's interesting that Clark Swanson would send her his lawsuit, because obviously he wants her to cover his side of the story, and then tries to throw a little shade at her. Like I think he's trying to intimidate her. He has a cease and desist. You know, she's got it all on the screen. Look at this bullshit cease and desist. I love Emily because she's like, yeah, this is all crazy, all crap. But it's, you know, it's great to see, and I think it's going to be good for her channel too, because, you know, Clark Swanson and Toddy Westbrook are now, you know, she's in a mix with Salt. She's now she can direct things from Clark Swanson. She turned into like ABC News, right? It's like the source of information here for these drama lawsuits. So, and this is
how YouTube channels start to take over the mainstream media.
That's right.
They're taking their jobs.
So now, let's transition to the Britney Spears saga. Now, this is where Legal Bytes is an expert at the Britney Spears stuff, because I'm like confused about. I'm like, what? Hold on, this is just crazy. So, update us. What's happening with Britney? What the hell going on?
So the latest was, we haven't talked about it since the July 14th hearing. So after Britney Spears addressed the court, she had this like 25-minute long like statement that she made to the court. She had the speech that she made, and she made all kinds of accusations, basically against everyone that has been involved in the conservatorship. Her court-appointed attorney, the people making decisions for her everyday care and for her medical decisions, her family. Basically everyone around her, she made all of these really big accusations against them. And so since then, there's been a lot of fallout. So the first thing that happened was Jody Montgomery, the conservator of her person, of Britney's person. So basically the person that's making decisions for her everyday care and for her medical decisions. She was getting so much like hate. I don't know what medium it was coming through, if it was like phone messages or she was getting death threats essentially. So she made a request to have the estate pay for her extra, like, additional security, basically just to make sure that she stays safe, because they were very afraid for their lives. Understandable. And I remember thinking about this, like the people that are making these kinds of threats, I understand the outrage that they feel. I definitely do. However, I don't think that they're thinking things through when they send those kinds of threats to someone who is in charge of, who has some control over Britney Spears' life, because the court, most likely is going to allow these kinds of expenses to take place. And if you're upset about the ways that Britney Spears may be being taken advantage of in this whole situation, including her finances, you're just adding like a huge amount of expense by doing something like this, because of course this person is going to try to make sure that they stay safe in this situation. Like, those are very serious threats to be making. So it's like, people need to be thinking things through before they go and make these kinds of threats if they really do care about her. So, but I understand probably the basic intent behind what people are doing and the reasons why they feel that they do. But anyway, so that was one thing.
Didn't she ask that because just so everybody understands, a lot of people when they talk about Britney's conservatorship, they think it's just the father, but it's the father's in charge of the money and finances, and this other person is in charge of her personal care and her person. So, and is it not true that Britney asked her to stay on as conservator of her person?
Yes. And because so far, actually, the court has only appointed Jody Montgomery as a temporary conservator of the person. So she's only supposed to be, filling this role for a certain period of time. Apparently she was pulled in because initially Jamie Spears was serving in that role, but I guess he had some sort of health issues or something. That was the reasoning, I guess, for why he wanted to sort of step down from that side of it and just handle the financial side. But yeah, I mean, Britney Spears, there's been text messages that have come out showing that Britney, was asking Jody for help, in trying to hire her own attorney, hire a different attorney that, that she wanted to have for herself. And she, apparently wants to have her stick around, supposedly. At least that's how it looks. So, but at the same time, at that June 23rd hearing, Britney Spears did make that claim about, her having the IUD, wanting to have it taken out so she can have kids, not being allowed to do so. That kind of falls within the Jody Montgomery's, under her umbrella. So that may be an indication that maybe not all of those decisions are being made by her. Maybe some of those decisions are still being made by Jamie Spears. I don't know, but there's at least that accusation. So that's a little bit of a weird twist to sort of, put those two together, that she wants her there, but she has this accusation that falls under Jody's umbrella.
Yeah, so she's saying, I can't do anything I want to do, but I still want this person to be a conservator. It seems like she wants her father to be out, but she wants this woman to stay as a conservator. But then all the most salacious stuff, like you're saying, the IUD is really this Jody's decisions, right? Keep the IUD, right? So it's but again, it's
So the other thing that happened was, there's two other things that happened. So the other thing was the Bessemer Trust Company was the co-conservator of the estate along with Jamie Spears. So they had just been appointed as a co-conservator. This is another like professional company that this is what they do professionally, is they provide these sort of services in a conservatorship. And they had just been appointed, so they hadn't yet started to take on any real decision-making responsibilities in the conservatorship yet, because they were so new. And they basically, after all of this sort of came out, they were like, taking a few steps back and like, okay, I don't want to be a part of this. I don't really know. And so to me, because of the fact that they didn't really, apparently they weren't yet making any sort of decisions. It sounds like they probably were just making a business decision to say, you know what, there's probably going to be a lot of litigation. There's going to be a lot of fighting. It's probably best if we don't get involved in this case, or we limit our involvement by requesting to be withdrawn. And the court ended up granting that one at the following hearing. So that was really, really interesting, I think. And then her attorney, that was the big news, was the court appointed attorney, Samuel D. Ingham III. Can't forget the third. So he, after that hearing, he requested to withdraw as her counsel. Now, when you are an attorney that's involved in litigation, in active litigation that's filed in court and everything, in order to stop representing that person, you have to actually request permission from the court to either quit or be fired by your client. You can have a totally bad relationship with your client, and if the court doesn't allow you to withdraw, you have to stick around for a little bit. And that's just usually because of professional responsibility requirements, that you can't just leave a client hanging in the middle of litigation that can really put their rights at risk. So he requested leave, but that it would go into effect when she had new counsel that was appointed. And so then Britney made her request to have her own attorney that she wanted to represent her. And at the July 14th hearing, the court also looked at that and determined that she could hire that person. So that was a huge deal.
And here is that attorney now. His name is Matthew Rosengart. Now he's supposed to be an extremely prominent attorney in the area. Have you heard of him before?
I haven't heard of him before, but I know that he works at Greenberg Traurig. One of my old bosses that I used to work for Greenberg Traurig. I would not be surprised if you knew him, because they both worked out of the LA office. And that's a big firm. That is a big firm. So that's a very well-respected firm. And he used to be a federal prosecutor, and now he's doing, apparently, I guess he has a mix of white collar criminal defense litigation and entertainment litigation. So he's represented, I can't remember exactly who, but I think Sean Penn was one person, and he's done like a wide range of cases within entertainment law. So I at first I was like, someone who's not like an elder law or a trust. I mean, I say elder law, she's not elderly, but usually this falls under elder law, conservatorship cases. But like someone that isn't doing conservatorships and that kind of thing. Steven Spielberg as well. Someone in the comments said, that's right. So, at first I was like, maybe not. But given the wide array of cases that he's taken, he's coming from big law. He's done a lot of entertainment cases, especially. A lot of times, like these cases, even though this is obviously it falls within a specific area of law, because of the financial aspect, and because this also involves, her touring and all those kinds of decisions, it's probably important for her to have someone that understands the ways that things work legally within the entertainment world, because that can be its own beast on its own.
Yeah.
So yeah,
definitely facts. But one thing I'm always like, there's a legal issue here that it's confusing me. And the legal issue is, all right, so the conservatorship was voluntary, right? And Britney, so this is a voluntary conservatorship. The issue, it seems, with her choosing her own attorney, the court on one end. So the argument, there are two arguments here. One is does Britney still need a conservatorship? And if the court believes that she's capable enough to choose her own attorney, then how can she not be able to run her own life? You're saying she's competent enough to choose an attorney, which is going to be very, but on the opposite end, you're saying she's not good enough. But then the argument on the other side of that is this is not just because the court says you can pick an attorney. It's different than you can run your life. And the reason why is because attorneys have to be licensed. There's professional responsibility. And on top of that, the quality of this attorney. This is a high-powered attorney that she can afford. This is not just some, Joe Blow that she just met at housing court or something like that. This is a real prominent attorney. So this is not like saying because you can pick a high prominent attorney that you can pay, you can take care of yourself. This is a limited circumstance of somebody saying, well, you can get this attorney to represent you, but you still need help on this opposite area. So I don't know where most people are going to come down, because I know everybody's going to say freedom, 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 which I'm even, which I agree with. Freedom is always best. But right now, this case is still so muddied because Britney's the one saying she wants the conservatorship to continue. But then on the next breath, she'll tell she doesn't want the conservatorship to continue. And then on the next breath, she says she wants this attorney. And then the next, so it's like, it's so muddy. I don't know what is going on here. Like what is the judge trying to decide? If the judge gets, if it's a voluntary conservatorship, he says it's ended tomorrow, is that even possible? And then if not, why? You know what I mean? Go ahead, Aaliyah. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say that. So the voluntary aspect of the conservatorship, that one, as far as we know, it was voluntary when she entered into it, and she said to the court that she did not know that she could request to terminate it. So whether or not that's true, we don't know. We wouldn't know unless we were in the room with her and her court-appointed attorney. And that is a confidential conversation. So that's a very tricky area for any lawyer to be in, I'm not surprised at all that he withdrew after that, because whether or not that's true, even just that allegation and putting yourself in a weird place where you have to defend yourself. But if the only way to defend yourself is by opening up, confidential conversations, and when the only person that can waive those confidences is the client. Like, so if I have a conversation with a client about a certain legal matter, and then that person goes around and says something about that conversation, to a certain extent, I can, I can say, things about the conversation because the client has already opened up that conversation. You can only go so far. So it's a very tricky area to be. So I'm not at all surprised that he withdrew when he did. But as far as it being voluntary, I mean, we kind of talked earlier about in the New York Times case that there also is this tendency of women to be agreeable. So she may have, in this sort of situation, especially back in 2008, she was in her 20s, right? She was like 20, 23 or something like that. She may have just, decided, okay, well, the walls are sort of closing in. What choices do I have? I'll sign the paperwork, and, cause so many things were happening in her life at that time. She may have, given her consent when maybe that was not the best, choice for her. And I mean, who knows what sort of information she was given before she gave that consent. So, and the voluntary aspect of that could have changed over time too. So
that's true. Yeah. Facts. Well, it's an interesting case, and I'm just not sure where the judge is going to go with it. But hopefully we'll have a resolution soon, because it just there's just so much going on here. It's just like
and the thing about capacity too. I mean, that's really what any conservatorship. That's what's at the heart of any conservatorship case is the capacity of the conservatee. So do they have the ability to understand and appreciate the decisions that they're making, and to appreciate especially the consequences of those decisions. So when we're talking about capacity, and we're talking about various types of decisions, there's varying levels of capacity depending on what we're talking about. So a lot of times, and this depends on the state, but I've seen case law where that talks about how, in order to get married, you actually don't need to have that much capacity. But in order to execute a will or execute a trust, you need, like a higher level. So there's varying levels depending on what kind of decisions we're talking about. So, I haven't looked at specifically, the capacity required to hire an attorney, But that could be one of those that's a little bit lower, like, because for the reasons that you said before, that it's, somebody has, that any attorney already has certain very heavy requirements on them for professional responsibility. We've got all kinds of legal duties, that we have to keep up in any kind of representation. But I still think that this is this could be potentially the court signaling that they are going to ultimately end the conservatorship, because they may be signaling like, okay, like you have a certain level of capacity for making this kind of a decision. Let's see what other kind of decisions you can possibly make, and so that's they may end up sort of giving her a lot more leeway than they did at the beginning.
Yeah, and I think hopefully her attorney will respect her wishes, and if she wants to get out, she can get out, because I do agree with the whole fact, if you're already doing shows, you're contracting to this, you're doing this, you're putting together all this stuff, she should have the freedom to do what she wants, even though being quirky isn't something that should give you a conservatorship. But again, I don't know what the medical health care professionals are saying or what have you. So, but we will see. And we'll probably never know, because, those are HIPAA violations. Let me get to some of these super chats.
Sure.
There was one that talked about Kurt, that said it missed Kurt from being from Texas. Hey, Kurt, I see you in the live chat. What's up, Kurt?
Hey, Kurt.
So, yes, our Texas partner. This is from my man, Big Dog. Big Dog, good to see you again. Don't forget, I'm going to be hitting you up on Twitter a little later. He said the CVA ends in New York on August 14. Rape victims will be limited now to press charges down the road. I'm not sure about the CVA, the Children's Victims Act. That's what he says it is. I'm not sure about that. I know there was a statute of limitations in New York. I'm not sure if it's still in effect now. I have to look it up, because I haven't done any sexual assault cases in a while. But generally, I know in some states there was like 5 years. Like it ranges. So I know some states it's 5 years, where if you don't bring charges within 5 years, it's like it never happened. Statute of limitations runs out. So I'll check that out. I'm not sure.
In California, it's a lot longer now. Because of Governor Jerry Brown signed into law a few years ago. I can't remember exactly how long, but it's long. It gives quite a bit of time now for victims. I can probably look it up.
Well, actually, it's 20 years now, so they extended it. Under the new statute of limitations, the former was extended to 20 years, and the latter to 10 years. Okay, so yes, all right. So now they've been extended here in New York too, which makes sense. If something happens, and I think this is like the Bill Cosby stuff and all that stuff, right? To catch up on those laws. So
Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah. So I'm Big Dog. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but if you're a victim, it can happen 20 years down the road based on the statute of limitations. Next one, Emily says, just got here. Glad to see you back, Nate. Thank you. Oh yeah, we'll be back. We're about to lay some fire out. We just so everybody knows, with the next couple of videos we got coming out, me and Alita are doing a joint venture on the U.S. soccer team, and I'm talking about. It's a deep dive. Like we got tax. You're going to see tax documents. You're going to see like we go through the whole shebang, and we're going to so it'll be clear exactly what the U.S. soccer team. They just lost 3-0 too to Sweden, which kind of sucks. I'm still pro USA. I actually had a huge argument with the fan about the U.S. soccer, and they were like, oh, they lost 3-0, and what do you feel about them kneeling before the game? They were literally, and now the Olympics allow you to do protest. It's like, before the matches. So the Swedish team, they knelt, and the American team knelt, right? And so did the English team. So the English team won. They kneeled and won, for racism. The Americans, they kneeled and lost 3-0, and the Swedish team, who they lost to, won 3-0. They knelt. They actually knelt too. So I was kind of shocked to see all these conservative pundits making fun of the U.S. Olympic team, like, oh, because they knelt, they served them right. They lost 3-0 because they knelt. And they kneeled. And I'm like, well, hold on. Both teams kneeled, right? So if everything is equal, I'm an American, right? I want the U.S. team to win. If everybody's kneeling, then what the hell? But it seems like, it's okay for all the other teams to kneel, but if the U.S. team kneels for racism, they're bad people. But if the Swedish team kneels for racism and wins, they're good. That's like, what? No. I don't think that's the way it works. So I think now, and that's the reason why I think a lot of times when you talk about sports and politics, it gets so dynamic, because I just want to watch the sports and root for my team. I don't want it to have a political message in it, and I do understand that. But then I also understand and respect the right for those women to have that message, to put so what. But
Right.
For me though, personally, if all things are equal, if the Swedish team is kneeling and the American team is kneeling, I'm pro USA. You know what I'm saying? So now,
Of course.
I understand if the argument was made that it was just the USA kneeling and they were kneeling for something I didn't like, okay, argument is okay. But if they're both kneeling for the same cause, then why am I rooting for the Swedish team? Right? It just, I don't know. How do you feel about it?
I mean, yeah, no, I'm always going to be team USA every day, unless we're talking about the Lithuanian basketball team in the Olympics. Then I'm team Lithuania. Sorry, I love the United States, but that's my one. And maybe a few other sports where Lithuania is competing.
Basketball.
There have been a few.
Basketball. Yeah.
Basketball is like that's the. I mean, it's Lithuania is probably about like 85% Catholic or something, but the number one religion is basketball.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's yeah.
Well, but again, I know, everything now, unfortunately, has become so political, so polarizing. It's like you can't talk about anything without the politics being thrown in your face, and I think that's a lot of the problem when we're talking about these issues. But we'll see what happens. You got any? So your next video is coming out tomorrow. Britney Spears. Hopefully, people to go check that out, and you'll hear the details instead of us roughly going over it, right?
Yeah. I'm going to go through basically pretty much everything that anyone needs to know about the whole case and to understand conservatorships, so that in as quickly a format as possible. So I always try to keep it pithy. It doesn't always work out that way, but it's not going to be under 5 minutes. But it'll be hopefully enough to sort of give people some hits so that they can understand the main issues in these in this whole situation, and kind of make sense of it moving forward.
Yeah, amen to that. I know for me, I have, because I was having issues with YouTube, obviously, with my police-driven content. So all that was demonetized. So I'm trying to, but the good thing is that the U.S. soccer stuff. So I'm trying to figure out some content that I can make that'll still generate some YouTube ad revenue, and it's been a struggle because a lot of people like the stuff that I did, but just trying to get them into new stuff. And this U.S. soccer team, it seems like reading these cases seems to be more the way to go, but we'll see. But again, next couple of days you should be getting a lot more stuff from me. And for those of you who are going to be watching this video later, I'm going to be putting this video on Locals. And what I do is that when I have a video here on YouTube, I download and put it on Locals so you can see it ad free if you join Locals. So join Locals, join the community, and you can watch these same videos without the ads if you like. Last super chat before we get out of here. CVA extension was done to allow children who become adults to press criminal and civil charges. It is extending, going back to the original time frame now. Interesting. But again, if you're talking about, in the criminal arena, sexual assault charges, statute of limitations right now in New York seems to be between 10 and 20 years, some 10, some 20 years. So I don't think you can change that. Maybe that extension needs to happen for that. But I'm not sure. Because I literally just read off the statute. Anything else? I would have to look into the CVA to really dissect it. But I'll definitely check it out, Big Dog, because I know you know your facts. So if you're saying it's good, I'm going to check it out. Now, with that, we are going to be back next Thursday on Alita's channel. Probably we'll go over some of our Twitter beefs, because I get into a lot of Twitter wars. Viva, Nick.
You do.
Yes, Robert. I'm in a battling Twitter every day too, right?
I'm usually just on the sidelines with popcorn, just watching the whole thing. I might pepper in like a comment here or there, but I'm usually kind of just observing. I need to get a little bit more active on Twitter, I think. Get into some of these fights.
As you see, I'm fighting online colds. I got the whole gambit. But that's what it's about, right? It's YouTube. YouTube is like the new arena, like the new gladiator arena. It's either you do it or death, So hey, listen, thank you guys so much for joining us this morning. Remember, next week, 10 a.m., we're going to be on the Leaders channel, and then we're going to be going back and forth. So it's going to be 10 a.m. We're switching. We're thinking between Wednesdays and Thursdays. I kept playing Wednesday because I'm so used to Wednesday, but I'm assuming it's going to be probably Wednesdays. But we'll do Wednesdays and Thursdays in alternating channels.
We'll see how it works out.
All right. For Alita, my name is Nate the Lawyer. Thank you guys again for joining us, and we'll see you next week. And I'll probably see you a little later with some videos on this channel. So for all of you guys, don't forget locals.com. For me, Alita hasn't gone to locals. Get to locals. Get to locals.
I gotta set it up.
We'll see you guys next time.
All right. See ya.